Decision 2022, well, there's plenty of political headlines this morning. Rick Caruso and Karen Bass will square off in a runoff. And in House primaries across the country, Republicans largely opted to keep their incumbents, rejecting candidates who aligned themselves with former President Donald Trump. Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College, is here to break it all down for us. It was so great to do the whole broadcast with you yesterday, Caroline. Nice to see you this morning, too.
Great to see you up very early, shall I add, after a late night.
Hey, we're political junkies. What can you say? This is the news biz. So listen, California voters, as you said, sent a very strong message with these primaries to the Democratic Party heading into the midterms, didn't they?
They absolutely did. They sent the message that crime and homelessness, issues of safety, as it's been framed by a lot of Democrats, are a top priority. And they also sent the clear message that they're choosing more centrist candidates or more law and order candidates over more progressive candidates. We saw this with the recall of the San Francisco DA. We may see a similar effort with Gascon. We saw it with the rise of Rick Caruso. So voters in California, even though we're all Democrats, by and large, right, 2-to-1 Democratic advantage in the state, there is a very clear difference between progressive support for progressive Democrats and centrist Democrats.
In the most progressive state in the union. So let's talk about Rick Caruso, the former Republican turned Democrat. He received 42% of the vote to Karen Bass's 37%. He spent a lot of money to get there, as you know. Are you surprised he came out on top?
I'm not surprised. He spent about 10 times the amount that Karen Bass spent, and he needed to because we didn't really know who he was in Los Angeles. Now we do. That's what money buys in this, right? Name recognition. He is very much a law and order candidate versus Bass's more, or community organizing, progressive politics. So there will be a very clear choice for voters heading into November. I will say that Rick Caruso is probably not very comfortable with that lead, given what he has spent, because the electorate is actually going to be much easier or appealing for Karen Bass come November. It'll be a younger, more diverse electorate. In these primary elections, we tend to get more of the party loyalists. And so Rick Caruso and Karen Bass will have a very tight race come November.
We'll be watching it very closely at the edge of our seat. So low voter turnout, pundits blaming no national candidate or state measures on the ballot, and apathy and anger. How much do you think that sentiment amongst the electorate played into not showing up at the polls?
Well, I would think that anger would drive folks, as you point out, Giselle, but I think we might have election fatigue. We just went through a big recall election. Folks are looking at this primary and saying, well, I mean, it's mostly going to be, Democrats who are going to advance in a state that is overwhelmingly Democratic. We don't have a lot of hot races. We'll see that in November. We'll see matchups between Republicans and Democrats. But I think it might be recall voter fatigue, and I'm hoping that we have much higher turnout come November, given how important this is for democracy.
And it wasn't just California. Voters cast ballots in 6 other primary elections across the nation. Where are we this morning? Do you think it's going to be a Kevin McCarthy-led House or Nancy Pelosi returning as Speaker?
Well, I think the Republicans are likely to take somewhere between 25 and 40 seats in the House based on how candidates did last night. As you pointed out at the top of the show, Trump endorsements did not matter so much. They certainly didn't matter in California. But just looking at the 3 districts in the state of California that were redrawn, they have Republican incumbents. They were redrawn to be Democratic-leaning districts. 2 out of 3 Republicans held on last night and did quite well. And one looks like it's going to be a Democratic win come November. So just based on that, I think Republicans are going to do quite well, as they tend to do. Anytime, you have the opposite party out of power, you would expect this swing, and especially when presidential approval is below 50% and Biden's is at 42% right now.
Yeah, and so much at stake as we head into the midterms, not looking great for the Democrats. I do want to ask you about the January 6th committee set to hold its very prime time hearings tomorrow, with all of their evidence finally laying it out. Fox News has decided not to air these proceedings. What can we expect? You think it'll move the needle?
Well, I can't imagine calling yourself, a national news outlet and not covering this. This is going to be the event of the summer, in that the American public is now going to see what the January 6th committee has been seeing all along. They've conducted over 1,000 interviews, and this is the second phase, the public portion, where they're showing us the evidence that they have. And this is on the heels of an indictment of, the Proud Boy leader and others. I mean, the investigation is tightening and really getting down to brass tacks in terms of what laws were broken and how.
Do you think it'll move the needle?
I think it will move the needle on public opinion tremendously. Whether or not that translates into the DOJ prosecuting Trump or his inner circle, that's a big question.
Yeah, because people are saying when the Nixon, Watergate hearings took place, that really shifted public opinion and led to the downfall of that president. People are doubtful that's going to happen this time because we live in a much more divided nation. And just really quickly, just comment on that.
Well, absolutely. I think that anybody who's watching the January 6 hearings and supports Donald Trump will not have their opinion shifted. It's going to be the independents and folks who are looking at the facts, because we saw what happened on January 6.
Caroline Heldman, you got it in on time. We got to it all. Thanks so much.